The day it all collapsed around me began with the kind of silence that feels too heavy for a Monday morning. In the muted glow of the office hallway, I could hear my own heartbeat louder than the hum of the lights. My boss, Mr. Granger, stood at one end of the conference room with disappointment carved into the line of his face, while my girlfriend, Hannah, stood at the other, her eyes red from a sleepless night. They weren't supposed to be in the same room. They weren't supposed to know about each other's demands. Yet here they were, both looking at me as if I was the hinge on which their worlds would snap. When they each said I could only choose one of them, my career or my relationship, it felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. And in one reckless, trembling moment, I said the words that shocked us all. Why not pick you both? If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the messy way life sometimes gives us unexpected opportunities to grow, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring stories like this to life. The truth is, none of this would have happened if I hadn't been stretched thin for months. I was a project lead at a marketing firm in Denver, Colorado, and every day felt like running uphill with a pile of bricks strapped to my back. Late nights, missed dinners, canceled weekends, my job had swallowed my life whole. Hannah had been patient. Far more patient than I deserved. She would leave notes on my desk at home with encouraging words, simple reminders to breathe, or a baking tray of blueberry muffins waiting on the counter after another night. I returned long after midnight. But patience has limits, and mine had a habit of pushing people to theirs. On the other side, Mr. Granger was a man who respected only results. He built the company from scratch and expected his employees to mirror his sacrifice. He valued me at least professionally, but his belief in me came with a cost. I was never allowed to fail. Not even once. When our biggest client threatened to pull out because a campaign fell behind schedule, he looked at me as though I had personally betrayed him. That morning, I knew the confrontation was coming. I just didn't expect Hannah to walk in while it was happening. She had shown up with a small lunch bag in her hand, hoping to surprise me. She didn't know she was stepping straight into the center of a storm. When she overheard Mr. Granger telling me that if I couldn't give 100% to the company, there would be no place for me, something inside her broke open. She told him I had already given more than enough, that I was disappearing into a life I never wanted. And then, without planning to, she said she couldn't stay with someone who wasn't actually present anymore, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, wholeheartedly. The room spun. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, with both of them pushing from opposite sides. They demanded an answer: work or love, stability or happiness, a structured future or a messy, real one. But in that moment, I finally saw the truth I had been running from. I didn't actually want to lose either of them because I had never taken a moment to choose myself. Saying why not pick you both wasn't arrogance. It was desperation, an attempt to hold together the two pillars that had supported me in different ways, and their stunned silence gave me the chance I didn't know I needed. For the first time in my adult life, I stopped apologizing for the chaos I had created and started explaining the one thing I had buried deep inside, that I had been so afraid of failing everyone that I had failed myself. My voice cracked as I spoke about the pressure, the sleepless nights, the fear of not being enough. I told Mr. Granger I admired him but couldn't be a machine. I told Hannah I loved her but had forgotten how to show it. I told them both that if they expected me to pick one over the other, then no matter who I chose, the real me, the one buried under exhaustion and expectations, would stay lost. The room softened. The storm quieted. Mr. Granger sat down first, rubbing his forehead. He admitted he had been too hard on the people who cared most about the company. He wasn't good at expressing compassion, but that didn't mean he was incapable of it. He told me he didn't want to lose me to burnout, and for the first time he offered something no one had seen him give before: a path toward balance, a restructuring of my workload, and a chance to breathe. Hannah stepped closer and placed the lunch bag on the table, her eyes still shining with hurt, but also with hope. She said she didn't want to be in a tug-of-war with my career. She wanted to be part of my world, not in competition with it. But she needed me to choose to show up, not partially, not when convenient, but when it mattered. And I realized then that choosing both wasn't about having everything. It was about rebuilding a life where I didn't have to lose myself trying to keep others happy. Over the next weeks, everything shifted. My workload dropped to something human again. Mr. Granger checked in not with demands, but with genuine concern. Hannah and I started small, relearning each other in the quiet moments. A shared breakfast, a walk through Washington Park, evenings spent talking about dreams we had been too tired to remember. Slowly the fractures mended, not because everything magically healed, but because we all chose to put in the work. Months later, I stood in that same conference room, not as someone being cornered, but as someone finally standing tall. My project had succeeded. My relationship had grown stronger. And somewhere along the way, I learned that life doesn't always force us into impossible choices. Sometimes it simply asks us to be brave enough to rewrite the rules. If this story touched your heart in any way, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep these emotional journeys alive. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below and tell me whether you believe love and career can truly coexist when we choose them with honesty.